and welcome back to the channel. I am Zoell, and this is your MLK Monday Night Raw, January 20th, 2020 review. And overall, uh, it wasn't a bad show. I just felt like for it to be the Royal Rumble go home show, it didn't really elevate the Royal Rumble like I wanted it to. I feel like the Royal Rumble kind of took a back seat to everything going on the show, which is not, it's not a bad thing. We are progressing some storylines, but I just feel like the Royal Rumble is such a huge event and you kind of forgot about it if if you didn't have segments and you didn't have certain people, you know, telling us that they're entering the Royal Rumble. But overall, I mean, the show kind of, the pacing was, well, I won't lie, it kind of flew by. But I saw some pictures on Twitter of people leaving the arena before the main event even got on TV. So I feel bad for the people that were in the arena, but sitting at home, it didn't really drag on as Monday Night Raws usually do, so that's a good thing. But it, like I said, it was an okay show. Nothing too bad, but nothing too good. There was a lot of wrestling, and a lot of the wrestling was not bad. I think the highlight of the show was definitely Ray and Andrade's ladder match for the United States Championship. A match that, and a championship that I feel like should have taking place at the Royal Rumble. I don't understand why this took place on a regular Monday Night Raw episode, but we got a good match out of it, so I'm not really too bummed about it. My only concern is, where does Andrade go from here? Like, obviously he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, but where does he go after the Royal Rumble? Because he's definitely not winning. That's clear. But where does he go after? Like, I know for a fact that I do not want to see Humberto challenge Andrade for the US title, because Humberto has no momentum going into this match, and I kind of feel like his reveal, well, we'll get into it, but his reveal at the end of the match, just, it felt really, really flat, and I was expecting something different. But then again, they do not have anybody, so I guess this was the best option. But anyway, we started off the show with Seth Rollins, AOP, and Buddy Murphy, which, before the show even went on air, I was like, I already know the opening segment is going to be Seth Rollins. I know it. That's how predictable this show is. Or maybe I've been watching wrestling for way too long that I can just predict. And quite frankly, I could write this show. If I had like half a brain and no college degree and no common sense, I could have wrote this show like with my eyes closed. But basically Seth comes out, and I just want to point out that Buddy Murphy, he looked really good. He looked like he fit in, with the all black suit, looking like AOP, and I really felt like he belonged there. So that's good. But Seth's promo was the usual. Um, Nothing, he didn't say anything different. And I feel like with his promos, he's still getting into this messiah of Monday Night Raw. And I am going to try my hardest not to say that, because the entire show, if you counted how many times they said messiah, like, you would be drunk off your ass right now. Like, if you took a shot every time you heard that word. But, this is typical WWE. When they get like a nickname or some type of catchphrase, you're going to hear it until your ears bleed. But anyway, Seth says that the WWE Universe had very little to do with who he has turned into, but he thanks everyone anyway. We get a recap of last week's horrible main event, the fist fight, quote unquote, and I'm doing the quotations with my fingers. And Seth shows us how Buddy Murphy helped him and AOP win the match. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe interrupted, and Kevin says that if Seth wants to gloat about defeating the Big Show, or the Big Slow, He says that he can do that because that is no easy feat. And I beg to differ, Mr. Owens, because the Big Show has not been a threat since the 80s, 90s. Just, he, like, just, Seth said something like, oh, you guys brought out Big Show out of hibernation. And I laughed because Big Show should have stayed in hibernation. So, Kevin says that Big Show, will eventually be back to, get his revenge. And Kevin says that the one thing that Seth and AOP did not do was get rid of him and Samoa Joe. Kevin says enough talking and more fighting. And then him and Samoa Joe bring out the Viking Raiders. And at this point, I was thoroughly confused because why what do the Viking Raiders have to do with this? But then given how, this turned into Seth challenging the Viking Raiders for a tag team championship between him and Buddy Murphy, it kind of made sense. Like, after the backstage segment, you kind of figured out why the Viking Raiders were out there. They played their part. Like, they were there to lose the championships. And although I'm happy, I just didn't see why the two single stars challenge for the tag team championships instead of the actual tag team, which is AOP. But we can't get everything we want, so we got the tag team championships off of the Viking Raiders, which is a good thing. So I'm not gonna nitpick too much. The first match of the night was Rey Mysterio versus Andrade for the United States Championship in a ladder match. And this match was really, really good. I felt like the story in the match was told really well. I mean, this was not a spot fest by any means, which I liked because given some of the moves in this match, the story had to take, front and center. It had to be because Rey Mysterio at 45 years old should not be taking spots like this. And I just was looking at this match like just cringing because I'm like, Rey Mysterio, the power bomb on the ladder that didn't break, and the Hurricanrana that Andrade took and he hit on his neck on the ladder. I was just like, these are some brutal, brutal shots. And, like I said, it was not a spot fest, but this was a very well told story that was incorporated into the match. And these two guys have such great chemistry. And um, like I said in the beginning, I just don't understand why this match didn't take place at the Royal Rumble. Like, this could have easily been a show opener at the Royal Rumble, or even this could have been the main event of this show, because the main event of this show was complete trash. But we will get there eventually. But Andrade hits three amigos and he lands the last one. He puts Rey on top of a ladder. Andrade tries to go for a razor's edge, but Rey counters into a sunset bomb. And Andrade just, for, Andrade is great in the ring, but I don't, what I think people don't, what people don't celebrate him for is the fact of his selling. Like, he was selling some of these matches, and I feel like tomorrow morning is going to be brutal for him, but he is such a great seller. And he looked like $1,000,000 tonight. So Andrade, Rey starts climbing the ladder, and he literally has his hands on the title, but Andrade moves the ladder and Rey is swinging from back and forth. He grabs Rey's legs and Rey hits a 619. He sends Andrade to the outside of the ring. When Rey goes back to climb the ladder, Zelina slides in the ring and she climbs the ladder on the other side. She sits on top and she starts talking shit. She slaps Rey. Andrade comes in and he hits a brutal looking hammerlock DDT on Rey. I mean, Rey went head first into this fucking ladder, and at this point I was like, Rey Mysterio's dead. Like I said this about Andrade, but Rey Mysterio is dead. So the ladder just breaks completely in half. And at this point I was like, the ref needs to throw up the X because Rey Mysterio is fucking deceased. But anyway, Andrade won the match, and afterward he tells Zelina to remove the ringside padding, and Andrade plans on DDTing Rey, but someone appears behind him in a Rey Mysterio mask, and it turns out to be Humberto Carrillo. And I just was bummed because I felt like this should have easily been Dominic, because Humberto just, he was not a really good and excuse the noise outside because I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But I'm not editing this out because I want you guys to know it is hard for me to record in the Bronx and my window faces the street. So this is the type of noise that I hear all day. And try putting an 8-month-old to sleep with the fucking bikes and anyway, the buses and the horn, whatever. Anyway, so what I was saying, oh yeah, so Humberto just, his reveal was flat. The crowd did not, they didn't make a sound for him, and I just feel like it could have been anybody, but it was, it's like what I was saying. They don't have anybody to challenge Andrade, so I guess Humberto was the last option. So I just feel like if it was Dominic, it would have made more sense. It would have added more to the story. But, we can't get everything. So we go from that to Aleister Black versus a jobber. And this match was less than 5 minutes, I guarantee you. I didn't even get the jobber's name. I don't think they put his name on TV. But he basically runs towards Aleister. Aleister hits the black mass and he gets the 1, 2, 3. And given what happened to Buddy Murphy tonight, Aleister Black got the short end of the stick. Like, why did he win those 3 excellent matches only to go back to beating jobbers? And here you have Buddy Murphy, who lost all 3 matches, and now he's a champion. He's a tag team champion with Seth Rollins. Just, it's amazing what 7 days can do to someone's career. Next, we have an in-ring promo with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. And I really wrote, in my notes that I didn't really pay attention to this promo. Like, Paul Heyman is, he's considered one of the best talkers, but being with Brock Lesnar, I feel like kind of handicaps him because there's not much to say. Like, we get it, Brock Lesnar is the beast. We get it. He has one of the best schedules where he can just show up whenever he wants, beat the shit out of somebody and go home and get paid millions of dollars for doing it, and must be nice. But I just feel like there's not much else to say. Like, he's a champion, and we've been down this road before. He's a shit champion who never shows up. And what else is there for Paul Heyman to say? And Brock tonight looked bored as shit. And I was listening to this promo like, yeah, Brock, I'm with you. Like, Brock was probably thinking about what he's going to eat for dinner when he gets home. What did Sable cook? What the kids are doing? And if the weather is nice enough, can he go out hunting tomorrow? So, yeah. Ricochet comes out. I had to clear my throat because I want you guys to understand that, yes, I just said that Ricochet came out. And he says that Paul Heyman talks a lot. And I was like, Ricochet, maybe you should stop talking. Because Ricochet is great in the ring. You wouldn't be able to tell by how he's been booked lately. But he's really great in the ring. But I never thought that Ricochet was the best talker. He's not the best promo. And this promo that he cut, it made me think back to his time in NXT. And I don't remember him cutting that many promos, but I didn't feel like it was, killing his character. I just felt like, let what I do in the ring do the talking. You know what I mean? But now they're giving him a mic, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, Ricochet, what are you talking about? But Even as Ricochet is talking, you can see the camera cuts to Brock and Paul, and they're whispering to each other. They're not even paying attention. That's how boring Ricochet is. That's how much nobody gave a fuck. But to sum it up, Ricochet says that some of the guys are afraid of Brock being in the Royal Rumble, but the word afraid is not in his vocabulary because every time he gets on the top rope, I'm just like, oh man. Like, we already know what's going to happen. They want to recreate what, R-Truth and Paul and Brock were able to do last week, but Ricochet is not the guy. Like, Ricochet has been in squash matches. I think he's won one match in the last 3 weeks, I can assume. Don't quote me on that. But what makes him any more tougher, quote unquote, than anyone else in the locker room? And I actually tweeted, did Ricochet get lost making his way to catering? Did he get to gorilla position and say, hey, I think Titus is, I think the mess hall is booked right now, so I think Titus is having his catering out in the middle of the ring. Did someone not catch him before he went out uh to the ring? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This was just bad. It was not bad. But Ricochet gets in the ring and he challenges Brock Lesnar. Brock laughs, like I'm sure everyone else did. Like, what, is this dude fucking serious? But Brock laughs and he starts to make his way out of the ring, but Ricochet asks him if he's afraid. So Brock gets back in the ring, kicks Ricochet in the balls, grabs the mic and says, not afraid, before leaving. And I felt like this was terrible. This was just terrible. Um, Whatever momentum Ricochet had has taken a fucking swan dive into the ground. Him being in the Royal Rumble, I'm sure he'll do some, one or two amazing spots, you know, challenging Kofi for, oh, anything you can do, I can do better. But I feel like his peak has been reached, and whatever the writers have for him or don't have for him, it just, he's just not the same. And I think to sum up this promo and this whole segment is when Ricochet came out and actually started talking, it made me root. This is ridiculous. The amount of noise tonight is ridiculous. But I just felt like this promo made me root for Brock Lesnar, and I don't think that was the goal. So backstage, Charlie Caruso interviews Randy Orton about Drew McIntyre. And Randy, he basically bigs up Drew McIntyre. He calls him a hell of a talent, hell of a guy. And he has one hell of a chop, but he is not on par with a guy who can strike at any point with the three most deadliest letters in the WWE, RKO. And this goes back to what I was saying, when did WWE, when Vince hears a catchphrase, you are going to hear it every week, all day, all night rather, for 3 hours. You're going to hear the same catchphrase over and over and over until the point you hate it, and by the time they put it on the shirt, you're not buying it. So next we had Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. This was an okay match. Nothing bad. Nothing bad. You know, I guess to put Drew McIntyre in a match with Randy, and it seems like they're pushing Drew McIntyre. And he's turning into a babyface. To put him in a match against Randy, obviously they're gonna have a good back to back, but I don't know who this is going to work for. Like, Randy's already established, but if we're trying to get Drew over, wouldn't you put him against some douchebag heel? Have him do all his, the 3-2-1 and all this other stuff. Like, it would make more sense to put him in a match with somebody else to build up that momentum and get the crowd behind him, because the crowd is going to automatically be behind Randy Orton. So I don't know who this benefits, but like I said, this was a okay match. Drew hit a crazy looking Claymore kick on one of the producers sitting ringside, and Maybe Vince should offer this guy a contract because he sold the shit out of that kick. And the fact that Randy Orton was yelling, "Watch out, grandma," on the sidelines, I'm just, this is why we love Randy. Because if it's not the facial expressions, it's the little, the subtle little things that he says that are probably not meant to be funny, but Randy's delivery, makes you laugh. So, this match was interrupted by AJ Styles and the OC. I did not understand this, but I guess the commentary team had to remind us that remind us of the feud or the beef, whatever it is that AJ and the OC have with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. And I do know that they had a triple threat last week, but I totally fucking forgot about that. So thanks for the reminder. But AJ Styles and OC, they run in and they attack Drew McIntyre. Randy gets in the ring with a chair and starts hitting everybody. Drew lands a Claymore kick to Carl Anderson, and Randy hits Gallows with a chair. And afterward, Randy and Drew have a stare down. You can audibly hear Randy say that Drew's a tough son of a bitch. But as soon as Drew turns his back, Randy hits him with an RKO. So Drew grabs the mic and calls Randy by his entire government name, a la CM Punk. And he says that he and Randy are not even, and that he'll take the L for not expecting that RKO. He says that he hopes he and Randy are the last ones in the Rumble because the Claymore kick won't be coming out of nowhere. He's going to kick Randy's head off his shoulders. He says that he's going to win the Royal Rumble and finally main event WrestleMania. So, decent match, nothing to go crazy over. Next we had Charlotte Flair backstage with Charlie Caruso, who asks her about the Royal Rumble. She says that Charlotte has eliminated the most competitors in the women's Royal Rumble history, and how she plans on carrying that confidence into this year's Rumble. Becky Lynch makes a nice little appearance, interrupting Charlotte. And when she walks off, Charlotte says that she's prepared to compete against 29 other women, but are they prepared to compete against the Queen? And I don't have anything to say about this, except it's nice to see Charlotte with some makeup on. She may not be everyone's cup of tea. She's obviously Andrade's cup of tea, but it's nice to see her, done up and, actually looking like the Queen, Charlotte Flair that we know. My only gripe is her hairdresser could have blended her clip-ins a little bit more to match her natural blonde. But if you're not a woman, you're not really going to understand that. But, don't be mad at me. I'm just saying. The next match was Becky Lynch versus Kairi Sane. Becky grabs the mic and she starts to speak, but they immediately cut to a recap of last week's contract signing. She finally says that she is, in Kansas to collect the debt. Again, back to those catchphrases. And she says that she's thinking that Asuka is actually the one that is worried about her, given, the sneak attacks and the miss to the face and the fact that Becky is facing Kairi instead of her. She said that Asuka may have beat her in the past, but she says who really won, in the end, because while she went around the world main eventing, Asuka went to YouTube to make soup. And I'm not sure if this was supposed to come off as funny. I'm not sure if this is supposed to come off as a shoot. Well, Asuka does have a channel, but Asuka's channel is fucking awesome. So I don't understand the joke towards that, but whatever. So she says that Asuka can take her eyes and break her bones, but she is not afraid of Asuka anymore. I guess it takes one good miss to the eyes for you to not be afraid anymore, Becky. And that was pretty much it. The match, nothing to really recap of much importance. I will say the fact that Asuka was sitting on the top turnbuckle during the whole match is fucking hilarious. Like, no one but Asuka can get away with that. Asuka's fucking awesome. You can say what you want. She's fucking awesome. This heel turn was exactly what she needed to put her back in that badass, like, please take me seriously. I may not speak good English, but I will fucking knock your head off. Like, we needed her back in this NXT type element, and the fact that they're even incorporating the green mist and the difference in makeup and the fact that she's only speaking in Japanese. Like, this is the Asuka that we've wanted. So Becky Lynch wins when she taps out Kairi Sane. After the match, Asuka hits a Shining Wizard on Becky. She puts her in the Asuka lock. And that was it. So, I'm happy to see Kyrie back in the ring, but this match was just really kind of sloppy to me. And Becky and Kyrie clearly don't have the same chemistry as she does with Asuka. But that's not a slight to Kyrie in no way. My honest opinion is that Becky is just not that great in the ring. And again, the Becky Hive, please don't come for me. She's really, really bland. And I feel like even when she's really, really invested in a feud, her matches just kind of come off sloppy. Like, I just feel like she's rushing too much, and it takes away from, she's clearly not the man, that she was when she first turned heel. But you know this match with Asuka at the Royal Rumble, I'm sure it's going to deliver, but I feel like Asuka is going to be the one to carry that match. So backstage, Sarah Schreiber asks Asuka if this is the type of champion she wants to be known for, spitting toxins in people's faces and using other people to help her win. My only question is to Miss Schreiber, who uses the word toxins in their everyday language? Like, were the writers on coke? Um, because even going back to Seth's promo in the opening of the show, I think he meant to say determination, but he said determinism, and I couldn't tell you what determinism means. I do not know what the fuck that means because I've never heard that word, and I'm pretty sure Seth has never heard that word. So Sarah Schreiber using the word toxins, like the writers must have been on a binge. Asuka curses Sarah Schreiber out in Japanese, I can only assume, appropriately, but she says that at the Royal Rumble, Becky Lynch is not ready for Asuka. And again, Asuka's fucking awesome. The next match was Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy versus the Viking Raiders for the Tag Team Championships. Again, not the greatest match, but my question is, why did everyone have to make their fucking interests separate? Why? Why, if they were all going to be on one side of the ring for their respective teams? Like, why? But whatever. We're not going to do it. I'm not even going to get into it. So Seth tags in Buddy. Eric hits a jumping knee. Ivar suplexes Buddy. Eric suplexes Ivar on top of Buddy Murphy. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe pull AOP off the apron and they start brawling into the crowd. Again, why the fuck are they out there if they were just going to end up in the crowd anyway? That's my question. But Rollins and Eric are in the ring when we come back from the commercial break. Murphy comes into the ring to help Rollins, but Eric counters and sends Murphy back outside the ring. Rollins grabs Ivar off the apron before Eric can tag him in. They send him into the barricade. Rollins tags in and hits a frog splash on Eric for a 2 count. Ivar finally tags in. Rollins blocks a Viking experience to Murphy. And then the Viking Raiders each hit suicide dives outside the ring. Eric power bombs Murphy. Ivar goes to the top rope, but Rollins pushes him off. Murphy hits a jumping knee to Eric. And while the referee is busy with Murphy, Rollins hits a curb stomp on Eric. And when the ref is undistracted. At this point, he turns around and Murphy gets a 3 count. So Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy are your new tag team champions. Um, Again, I don't understand why it wasn't AOP challenging for the tag team championships, but I guess AOP, uh, they don't really need the tag team championships, and I think it would have been kind of early. It would have kind of been early and late at the same time for them to win. But I'm just happy that the championships are off the Viking Raiders because they were not doing anything. They're like on the Aleister Black train of just beating jobbers that do nothing for any of the people involved. So backstage, Rollins says that this is a new beginning and says that just last week, Buddy was fighting against Aleister Black. And again, I think what he meant to say is Buddy Murphy was getting his ass whooped by Aleister Black last week. And now he is a champion. So I'm happy for Buddy Murphy. I really think he deserves it. But I just feel like what was the point of making him lose for 4 straight matches, and then you pair him with Rollins and AOP, and now he's a tag team champion. What does that say about Aleister Black? It's like, yeah, dude, you look cool. You scream champion, but we're not going to give you any type of title or any type of meaningful feud. But the person that you beat 4 times, we're going to give him the title. I don't think that says much. So backstage we had the Street Profits doing an SNL skit. I did not take any notes because I don't give a shit. The Street Profits just are terrible. They are being booked terribly. Again, I apologize for the outside noise, but I'm working on it. So then the next match was Matt Hardy versus Eric Rowan. I'm not going to recap this. I just want to know, did they really have to drag Matt Hardy all the way out to Kansas City to lose in a squash match to fucking Eric Rowan? You couldn't get anybody else to do this. You could have went to the nearest fucking Walmart, picked out the dude that is helping people in the self-checkout line who clearly does not want to be there. You could have picked him, put him in some fucking generic wrestling gear, and had him lose to Eric Rowan. Like, why does it have to be Matt Hardy? Like, he could have been home taking care of his newborn son. And then this company wonders why Reby Hardy gets on Twitter and fucking blasts them for doing stupid shit like this. Because if you don't have anything for Matt Hardy, then don't call him in. Don't fly him out. Don't, like, I really wish these guys just had the I don't know the word. I just wish that they were able to say no. Like, yeah, they're gonna lose out on some money. Yeah, that's not gonna fall in great favor with Vince. But what does this do for anybody? Like, Aaron Rowan in this fucking cage. At this point, I want to take that cage and bust it over my own head. Like, like I like I want to get the Iron Claw slam just so I don't have to relive Eric Rowan's last couple of weeks with these squash matches and this fucking cage gimmick that he's doing. Like, nobody gives a shit. Like, yeah. Oh, Luke Harp, I'm so glad you got out when you did. But next we had and if this wasn't bad, we go to a backstage promo with Mojo Rawley. I didn't write any notes on this because I didn't give a fuck. Mojo Rawley is trash, and so is that championship. And you can write him up to be this big ass and this badass and like, oh, I'm gonna really make the 24/7 championship worth it, sir. You couldn't do that. Rey Mysterio couldn't do that. Andrade couldn't do that. Like, that championship is trash, and so are you. So you may think that this is a step up, but really, dude, this is a step down, because if no one gave a shit about you before, they definitely don't give a shit about you now. The Bollywood brothers, the Singh brothers tried to pin Mojo Rawley. He slams one of them into the equipment case, and that was that. And then we get to the main event. And I looked at the time and I realized that, fuck, we haven't seen Lana and Rusev and Lashley and Liv Morgan, and I said, they're really gonna make this shit the main event. Like, people, I beg you, stop tuning into this trash, because this match by no means should have been the main event. It should have really been Rey Mysterio and Andrade. You just Lana grabs the mic, says some bullshit about, I don't know. I honestly don't know. This is going to be a really, really quick recap, because a lot of these things I did not even bother taking notes on, because I don't give a fuck. I really, I want to apologize, but then again, I don't, because you saw this shit. This, like, what is this? Like, this Lana and Lashley and Rusev shit. Like, Rusev is still losing. And the only thing I can think of is he keeps losing because he's gonna fucking leave the company. And I really pray to God that that's what happened. Because if they have him losing this much and it leads to nothing, then I'm gonna be pissed off. No more pissed than Rusev should be. But they have him losing every week, and then he has to watch his real life wife make out with Bobby Lashley, who also is married. And I wonder what his wife is thinking at home with their kids and whatever. And this feud has been doing nothing but giving Vince the ultimate hard on, the only hard on he can probably get at his old ass age. And I'm just wondering, like, when is this shit gonna end? Lana is terrible. Bobby Lashley is terrible. Rusev deserves better. And Liv Morgan, yeah, I want to like her. I do. She's a cutie pie. I do want to like her. But this was not what people were expecting when she had that match with Charlotte and she said she's going to come back as the real her. Because not only did you bring her back in a lesbian, semi-lesbian storyline, somewhere Sonya Deville is just seething, but you bring her back in this terrible ass fucking storyline. And then her in-ring debut, I mean, I know she's been doing some house shows, but her in-ring re-debut on Monday Night Raw, her and Rusev lose in the matter of 10 minutes. Who writes this shit? Like, what? Do we have to really, really boycott? Do we really have to band together and really stop watching this shit? But you know what? The point is, the gag is, no, people are going to keep watching and keep giving this stupid ass fucking storyline all the ratings in the world, and they're going to keep shoving this shit in our face, and we didn't ask for it. And I'm just anyway, Lana grabs Rusev's leg, Bobby Lashley hits a spear and gets a 3 count. Oh, and Liv Morgan hits an enziguri on Bobby Lashley after she breaks up the pin. Lana did more fucking talking. Her promo was longer than the match. Her and Lashley's entrance was longer than the match. Liv looked cute. She was giving me Harley Quinn vibes with her outfit. She was giving me Fiend vibes as well. But Rusev, he's in shape now. He looks great, but what does that matter? What does that matter when we have these type of outcomes to these type of matches? Like, this type of match being the main event is a fucking insult. Honestly. And if I was in the locker room, I would be pissed off. Now, me personally, if I was in the locker room, I would have said something. Because I don't give a shit about being fired. Because the way that the WWE is now, it's just, yeah, I might, consider going to AEW. But, again, these people are not me. So, that is your Monday Night Raw review. That main event just left a sour taste in my mouth. But that is your main event. So, please guys, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I know I did not do a SmackDown live review last Friday, and I'm very sorry. I was not feeling well, and my daughter was not feeling well, so I could not muster up enough strength. I was so doped up on medication, as bad as that sounds. But this weather, again, in New York is trash. So, I'll see you guys on Wednesday for AEW. And I hope you guys have a great MLK day. And I'll see you guys later. Love you. Bye.